Speaking of Fox News hosts, I have a clip here for you of Laura Ingraham saying something during a recent show so vile, so shameless, and dishonest also, where she tries to take a conversation about the terrorist attack by Hamas, the atrocities against Israel, and now the war taking place, and specifically a clip of Joe Biden saying that as he speaks to our country, the message he wants to deliver is let's unify in this moment of crisis, and there is no place for hate, the horrific hate that we're seeing present in response to this crisis. And Laura Ingraham figured out a way to take that to a conversation about how she thinks Trump's being politically persecuted, which of course he's not. And says that if Joe Biden really cared about hate, as he's talking about mourning people, and that should be our focus as a country, uniting around those who have been impacted in the most horrifying way imaginable. And she says, if you really care about hate, then you should get in the way of and interfere in the prosecutions against Donald Trump. Take a look.
This is a moment for the United States to come together, to grieve with those who are mourning. Let's be real clear. There is no place for hate in America.
Okay, well, if he's really against hate, then he should call a prosecutorial ceasefire against his political adversaries, like the former president, and direct his DOJ and DHS to stop making conservative Americans feel like they're the enemy, or like they're the violent extremists out there. Now,
this is a moment.
I have covered so many Fox News clips, and rarely am I stunned. I'm stunned right now by that. Disgusted, obviously. As I've said now multiple times, is there never a chance, a moment where your blinding partisanship and your obsession with trying to get people to watch your show who love Trump can be set aside? He's talking about grieving with mourning families and the mass slaughter of people. And your priority is to turn that around to a conversation about Trump and your lies that he's being politically persecuted? That is just beyond belief. It's deranged. I don't understand how someone can't just sometimes. I get that you're real motivated to get the viewership and stay relevant within MAGA and be partisan, but at some point you don't have anything that's above that. Just enough reason, enough decency to set that aside for a second. And he's calling out hate that is so damaging and destructive that we're seeing in the response to these atrocities popping up in our country, and calling that out. And she's trying to compare hatred such as anti-Semitism to Trump being prosecuted, and trying to act like he's not morally consistent because he is not, as president, trying to prevent a lawful prosecution of someone who is accused of committing lots of crimes. No, as President Biden shouldn't get involved. He shouldn't call a prosecutorial ceasefire, as she worded it, because that would be him interfering in, I guess she's referring to the DOJ specifically, and their job, what they are responsible for doing. And yes, sometimes if your guy, your leader, potentially commits crimes, then their job includes holding him accountable for that. And Biden shouldn't interfere with that. But again, beyond the conversation, I'm not going to do a whole discussion about how that lie about this all being Trump being a huge victim and all that. I'm not going to get into that here. I've done it so many times, spent hours and hours on the show talking about that. There's not evidence to that effect. But for that to be even a statement that leaves her mouth in a discussion, responding to what Biden's saying there, a message of unity in this country, in this moment, as president, he's calling for us to unify, to grieve with the families, to send our support. But no, it has to be, well, what about Trump? And she mentions other conservatives being targeted as well, also based on a foundation of lies, as we talked about. No bottom to the barrel for some people. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show and the bonus show on the weekends, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. And there's a link in the description.